All right, Raider Nation, just a quick little update. Antonio Pierce just had his presser for today, and in that presser, he both blamed Gardner Minshew's lack of execution, defended his offensive coordinator Luke Getsy's play calling, and at the same time announced that Gardner Minshew is the unquestionable QB1. We're going to get into all that and more with no fancy edits because I have a doctor's appointment. So let's just jump right into this. At the beginning of this press conference, Antonio Pierce said that, number one, the business statement has been handled internally. So doesn't look like anybody's been cut from the team. Nobody's being traded, at least as far as we know. So that is water under the bridge. However, at the same time, he was questioned about the lack of throwing the ball past the line of scrimmage and particularly past the sticks on 3rd and long. And he stated that we're not drawing up plays short of the sticks on 3rd and long. This is a lack of execution. Well, whose execution is he talking about? There is nobody else other than the quarterback. The quarterback is the one who has to throw the ball according to the play. And we've seen that last week where time and time again, he would have Brock Bowers literally wide open 15, 20 yards down the field and put his head down and start scrambling himself right into a sack. Second point is that it's Gardner Minshew is the one who is the lack of, if Gardner Minshew is the one who is lacking in the execution, then therefore he's defending Luke's play calling, saying that Luke Getsy is drawing up the plays and Gardner Minshew is simply not executing them. And so execution needs to be better. He said yesterday's practice went really well, no balls on the ground, and the speed was up, the energy was up, everything was looking great. Well, we also heard last week that last week's Friday's practice was the best practice they've ever had, and then we got blown out by the Carolina Panthers. So I put zero stock into how practice went. Here's the issue. Gardner Minshew is just going to continue to be Gardner Minshew. And then Coach Antonio Pierce inexplicably at the end of the press conference says, unquestionably, Gardner Minshew is QB1. That's it. Not a question mark. Maybe. Not a we'll see how he does this week if he's going to keep the job. It was unquestionable. So I'm not really sure what the point of Gardner Minshew being in QB1 when it is clear as day that Aiden O'Connell is the better quarterback. When it is clear as day that Gardner Minshew is not going to get us to the playoffs. He is not a playoff caliber quarterback. He is too inconsistent. He'll have one big play and then he'll have 7 bad plays. Could it be that the Raiders are intentionally going to tank this season? I don't know. It's starting to feel that way. Now, I also know that Antonio Pierce earlier in the year said they'll evaluate everything at the quarter mark of the season, which will be after this week's game. If Gardner Minshew continues to play erratic football, continues to fail to execute down the field when he should, and pick up those first downs when he should, if he continues to get sacked 5 or 6 times a game, as he has done every single week so far, one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL, if this type of play continues, do you believe that Gardner Minshew will continue to be the QB1? Do you believe that Antonio Pierce will finally make the decision to bench the $25 million Uncle Rico and put Aiden O'Connell up on deck? I think that's what's going to happen. I think that right now Antonio Pierce is being heavily pressured by Tom Telesco to put his guy who he brought in, who he way overpaid, to prove that Tom Telesco... Because look at what happens here. One guy's going to look bad. You bench the guy that you've given a $25 million contract to. Now, we can get out of that $25 million and get away with 15. But you're spending $15 million on a guy that you're going to put on the bench and never play again if Aiden O'Connell comes into the game. Who looks bad in that scenario? Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco just got fired from the Los Angeles Chargers last year and got his second chance, which does not happen in the same year ever with GMs. GMs typically, when they get fired, it might be 4 or 5 years before they get another GM position, if at all. And so he's got to be on a very slim tightrope with Mark Davis right now because he has He has Champ Kelly sitting right there, who should have been the GM of the Las Vegas Raiders. But Mark Davis, being Mark Davis, hit the panic button and went and got somebody who he felt had more experience than Champ Kelly. Maybe he felt that Antonio Pierce had too much pull and sway with Champ Kelly. And that's why Champ Kelly's not our GM. But everybody knows that Champ should have been the GM. And so you got to think, who's putting the pressure on for Gardner Minshew to be QB1? There is nobody else. It's Tom Telesco. Tom Telesco is the one. Right now, Luke Getsy looks terrible. But is it Luke Getsy? Well, when I went and I looked back at all the game tape, yes, there are some bad play calls from him. There are some repetition. There are some repetitive calls from him that is bad. But there are plays that he has scripted and that he has called that Gardner Minshew, had he executed accordingly, we would be probably 3-0 because we would put up 30 points a game. We got wide open receivers and tight ends running down the field. And it's just not happening. Gardner Minshew is putting his head down and he's going into scramble mode and missing guys, missing his reads. My boy All Aboard Raiders put out a fantastic video of breaking down just some simple highlights of where Gardner Minshew is completely missing his reads. Go and check him out. Aiden O'Connell, not saying he's a superstar, not saying he's going to be the savior of the Raiders, not saying he's going to be the franchise quarterback. But there is no doubt in my mind, and I've been saying this all offseason, Aiden O'Connell has a higher upside, and Aiden O'Connell should be QB1, and Gardner Minshew never should have brought team with the contract that he was given. There were other veteran quarterbacks out there that we could have went and got that are better and more consistent than Gardner Minshew. His footwork stinks. His vision stinks. He's missing wide open receivers. He's making errant passes. And Davante Adams was put on the spot last night, and he was point blank asked, who's his preference at quarterback between him and Aiden O'Connell? And you could see in his face, he paused. He was like, don't put me on this spot. He did not say Gardner Minshew. He didn't say AOC either. He said a very politically correct, neutral statement. But we know moving up through all of offseason, Davante Adams' pick for QB1 was Aiden O'Connell because he knows Aiden O'Connell reads the field much better. He has much more zip on the ball, and he has better anticipation. Again, not saying that Aiden O'Connell is going to be a superstar quarterback in the NFL, but he is definitely better than Gardner Minshew. So I don't understand Coach Antonio Pierce's decision. I just simply got to think that Tom Telesco is bringing down the hammer on Antonio Pierce. And he was even asked about his relationship with Champ Kelly versus Tom Telesco, and Antonio Pierce gave a very politically correct answer, saying, "Oh no, man, yeah, everything's fine. There's no, we talk to Champ Kelly, I talk to Tom Telesco every day. I talk to everybody in the building every day. Communication's good. Everybody has their job to do. Everybody has their role to play." He did not come out and say, "Nah, me and Tom Telesco are like this, man. We're 100% on board with each other." He did not defend his GM. He just said a very neutral statement. And you got to understand, when somebody makes a neutral statement like Davante Adams made about Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, about how Antonio Pierce made a neutral statement in regards to the GM versus the assistant GM, it's clear who his preference is for GM. I guarantee you he talks to Champ Kelly much more than he talks to Tom Telesco. That's just my 2 cents. Drop your 2 cents down in the comments. See you guys in the next video. I got to run.